Alright, this video is going to show you how to make a button in Flash for the purpose of clicking on it and making our animation play. So there's a few things we need to do. We're going to design and create a button, convert it to a symbol, a button symbol, and then we're going to code a little bit to make it do what we want when we click on it. So to get started, let's first create a new layer for our button. I'm going to double click on it and name it button. And on that layer I've got one keyframe. In fact, I've got all these frames here. I'm going to get rid of those right now. So I'm just going to click and drag and select everything but that first frame and right click and remove the frames. I just want that first frame. That's where my button's going to be. So I need to create the button, and you can do whatever you want. You can make it, it doesn't have to be a shape with text in it. It could be just text, it could be just a shape, it could be any picture, it could be anything. So I'll just do a simple one. I'm just going to do it text. I'm going to get my brush, get a color here, and I'm just going to write play. Okay, that's going to be my button. Now, so I've got that, it's on that button layer. Now I need to select it all. If I click the keyframe, it selects all of it, and I'm going to hit F8 on the keyboard. I can also right click on it and go down here to convert to symbol. F8 is the keyboard shortcut, and this is converting to a symbol. There's three different symbols: a movie clip, button, or graphic. And right now we're going to make a button, and we need to make sure it's a button because it's got certain attributes that come with that. I'm going to give it a name, just call it play button. Okay, now this sends it to my library. If I click on my library tab, there's my play button right there, and I can no longer select only parts of it. It's a full button. If I click anywhere on it, it selects the whole thing, gives me this blue box around it. Now, a couple things about a button. First of all, when I play it, it will have, by default, it'll have the little hand that goes over the top of it, so it looks like a button. So we recognize it, that we can click on it, but there's other things we can do to it. So I'm going to double click on it to kind of go inside of my button, and up here I'm in this my play button, which is what I called it. I can click scene to get out of it, but if I double click, I'm in it, and it gives me a new timeline. And on this timeline I can do a couple things to it. I can customize it how I want, because on a button, if you hover over it, sometimes it does something different, changes the color a little bit, or I could do whatever. I could draw a different picture and it would change to that picture when I hover over it with my mouse. So that's the over button. Up is just that it's up on the screen. Over is when you put your mouse over it. Down is when you click on it, when your button is actually in the down position. And then hit, I'll tell you about in just a second. So over, I'm just going to show you real quick. On up, I already have the keyframe. It's this, what I've drawn. So I'm going to hit F6 to copy that keyframe to the over position, and I'll change it just a little bit. You don't have to change it. You can if you want. When I hover over it, it will go to a lighter color. I'm going to hit F6 again to copy that keyframe over to the down position, and I can make it a little bit darker. So when I click on it, it goes darker. And then now the hit area, or the hit frame, I'm going to do F6 to copy it again. That is where I can click on the stage and it will play the button, or it will activate the button. And so I could make it anywhere. I could draw a shape over here, a square over here, square box, and then I'd have to click over there to activate the button. But for this example, I want it to just be right over this play. If I don't specify an area, especially in this case, if I drew a square button, I could just have that be the hit area, and it would be by default. But since I didn't, I just wrote something here. I have to click right on the drawing for it to activate the button, and I don't want that. That would be too difficult. So I'm just going to grab my square, and in fact, yeah, well, I'll just do that for now. I could draw around it too. Just grab the brush and draw right around it. That might be a little more accurate. But right there, if I click anywhere in that box, it will activate the button, and because that's on the hit frame right there. Okay, so I've got that all set up. Now I'm just going to exit out, hit escape, or click scene 1 up here in the top left. And I can test it if I do one other thing. We're going to, like I said, code a little bit, and I need to tell it what to do when I click the button. So I'll do that real quick. If you go up to Window and select Actions it brings up this actions panel, and I'm going to just slide that in right underneath the timeline. Oh, it's really big. I'm going to make it smaller. Clicking and dragging this. Okay, so I've got it here. I've got my stage up here. What I want to do is click on the button keyframe here, and I'm just going to put a little bit of script. Now, you don't have to be a programmer. I'm not, but I do know a few things in Flash that will help me out. One is this stop action. And what that's going to do, first of all, it's stop, open parentheses, close parentheses, and semicolon. Now I'm on that frame, and so on frame 1, as soon as the Swift file plays, it will stop on frame 1, because that's where my button is. I want it to stop, and I want it to wait until I click the button to go ahead with the animation. So I put that stop action on there. So now I can test it. So I'm going to do a Control Enter, and here's my file. It's stopped on frame 1. It's not just playing right through. And my button, if I roll over it in any of the area that I chose on that hit keyframe, it lights up or goes a little bit lighter. If I click it and hold down, it goes darker, and let go. It's not doing anything right now because I haven't programmed it to do anything, but my properties are working perfectly how I set them up. So I'm going to close it and put a little more code in here to make it do something. So I'm still on that frame. Now right here we have some code snippets, and that's going to help us out because we're not programmers. So if I click on that, I can just find what I want to do, and they give us some code that we can put in there. So I'm going to go to the second one, timeline navigation, click on it, and what I want is to, when I click on the button, I want it to go to a frame, a certain frame, and play. I can do a lot of other things, but this is what I want. I'm going to double click on it. I didn't give it an instance name, my button, but that's okay. It'll give me a default one. So I'll click OK. And now I can close this actions menu. And right here, here's all the code. These this light and text is just comments. Any good programmer will put good comments saying what the code is. And then this is all the code. I don't have to worry about much of this. Mainly this right here, go to and play 5. That's the frame number. So I don't want it to skip to 5. I just want it to stay on number 1. I just want it to play it. So that's what that does, play. So it goes to frame 1 and plays it, which it's already on frame 1. Okay, so that should do it. Now I'm going to do Control Enter again and test it out. My button's sitting there, it stops on frame 1. As soon as I click it, it should play through the animation. And it does. The play goes away because it wasn't on the stage for the next frames, and then it stops again on frame 1 when it starts over. So that's perfect. That's what I want to do with the button.